The cafeteria was packed, the air thick with noise chatter and the clang of metal trays. It was Elena's first day at Riverside High, and though she moved quietly and kept to herself, the predator's eyes had already found her. 16 years old, with striking green eyes and a quiet posture, Elena looked like an easy target. She wore a second-hand hoodie and jeans that were too clean for the cafeteria's grimy reality. When she asked where to sit, the question alone drew mocking grins from a group of boys leaning against the far wall. They called themselves the Core Four: Trevor, Zane, Matt, and Bryce, and they ruled the school with arrogance and cruelty. "She looks like she's never even had friends," Trevor sneered. "Bet she cries easy," Zane added, laughing. Elena ignored them and sat near the window away from the crowd. But that only intrigued them more. By the time lunch ended, their plan had formed. The next day, they set it in motion. It began with Bryce pretending to trip and spilling soda on her lap. As Elena stood up, flustered, Matt was already behind her, pulling her backpack down hard. The sudden force made her hoodie ride up, and in the scuffle, the boys yanked at her clothing, laughing, filming it all. Elena's shirt tore slightly at the shoulder. A scream of protest stuck in her throat, not from pain or fear, but from how calculating the trap was. The camera phones were out, held steady by Zane and Trevor. They zoomed in, laughed, whispered, filthy jokes. A teacher's voice barked from across the room, and the boys scattered, pretending it was an accident. The teacher scolded them half-heartedly, then turned back to her phone. Elena stood in place, fists clenched. She didn't cry. She didn't scream. She just walked out quietly. But inside her head, something snapped into place. The training, the memories, the voice of her father, Detective Marco Reyes, echoed like steel in her mind. If someone comes at you dirty, you don't cry. You don't flinch, you wait. You calculate. You make sure when you strike back, it's final. At home that night, she stood in the hallway, her torn shirt still on. Her father noticed instantly. No words were exchanged. He just said, "Need my help?" Elena shook her head. "Good," he nodded. "Then make it hurt." She spent the entire night watching the video frame by frame. She tracked the usernames, who shared it. She cross-referenced faces, laughs, locations. Then she opened a hidden folder on her laptop, a file her father once showed her for fun. It contained audio editing software, GPS tracking tools, and voice modulator settings. She'd never thought she'd use them, until now. At school the next day, Elena smiled for the first time. Not because she forgave them, but because she was starting to understand just how many weaknesses those boys had, and how easily she could exploit every single one. The video spread faster than the flu during finals week. Within hours, it had hit over 1,000 views on private student chats. By the next morning, it was circulating through burner accounts on TikTok, Instagram, and even a crude Reddit thread labeled "New Girl Gets Owned." Zane laughed the loudest in homeroom. "She's famous now," he shouted across the room. "Yeah, hope she enjoyed her 15 seconds. Trevor grinned, tapping his phone, swiping through likes. Elena didn't say a word. She sat in the second row, chin resting on her knuckles, eyes calm, observing. That calm made them nervous, but they didn't stop. During gym, they mimed the moment Bryce, pretending to yank a shirt, Matt making exaggerated gasps. The girls rolled their eyes. The teachers barely noticed. And the whole time, Elena watched and waited, her fingers resting lightly on her necklace, a simple silver badge pendant her father had given her. She whispered to herself, "Mistake number 2. What the boys didn't know was that the clip had already reached someone else. Detective Marco Reyes was sitting in his unmarked police cruiser, waiting for his shift briefing, when an encrypted ping hit his burner phone. It was from an AI monitoring system he had trained with a match between his daughter's face and a trending school video. He watched the footage in silence. He didn't call Elena. He didn't even go home. He just leaned forward and whispered, "You better not hurt them too much, kiddo." Back at school, Elena's plan had started. She slipped a note into Bryce's locker, an anonymous message that read, "Your brother wouldn't like to see that text you sent Lauren, right? Think your mom would like to know where her spare car key went. No name, no signature, just fear." By lunchtime, Bryce was panicked. He confronted Matt in the hallway. "Bro, did you tell anyone about that summer thing? You know, with the car." Matt blinked. "What are you talking about?" Zane overheard, laughed nervously. "Dude, you're being paranoid." Then Zane got a message on his phone. A voicemail, actually. But when he played it all, the blood drained from his face. It was him. His voice, recorded weeks ago, saying something sick, something illegal. He stared around the hallway. Elena was nowhere to be seen. At that moment, the fear spread like wildfire. Trevor began getting calls from a restricted number every hour. Each time, a deep modulated voice repeated one line. "Smile for the cameras, Trevor. They're watching you now." By the end of the day, all 4 boys were twitching messes. And Elena, she walked down the hallway as if nothing had happened. But inside her backpack was a burner phone, a voice changer app, and screenshots of everything. Every cruel DM, every disgusting message, every post they ever made. She didn't care about going viral. She cared about control. The boys had laughed at her tears that never came. Now it was their turn to feel exposed, paranoid, and helpless. And the best part, no one knew it was her. Elena remembered every lesson her father ever taught her. Not just the physical ones, but the mental ones. The power of fear. The power of silence. The power of knowing more than your opponent. By day, she was invisible again. No teachers suspected her. Most students thought she had transferred out. She kept her head down, her phone silent, and her heart steady. But behind that calm, a storm brewed, and her strategy shifted from rattling cages to tightening nooses. Each of the core 4 had a weakness. And Elena knew it wasn't enough to humiliate them. She needed to break their grip on the school. She started with Matt, the one who had pulled her backpack down. Elena spent her evenings browsing his social profiles, his friend lists, his gaming forums. She pieced together every lie he had told, the cheating scandal. He narrowly escaped the fake scholarship application he submitted with a doctored transcript. Elena forged an anonymous tip and submitted it to the school board using a proxy server. She attached screenshots, timelines, even a fabricated conversation log. 2 days later, Matt was pulled from class and questioned. His mother showed up red-faced. By Friday, he was suspended for investigation. One down. Zane, meanwhile, was unraveling fast. That voicemail, the one Elena had altered with his own vulgar words, had gone viral in a different way. She sent it to a local parents group with the caption, "Would you want your daughter near this student?" Within hours, parents were contacting the school. Zane's mother cried on campus. A teacher pulled him aside in tears, saying he had embarrassed the school and jeopardized upcoming college visits. He tried to claim it was fake, but the school didn't care. 2 down. Bryce's breaking point came slower. He was the golden boy, rich parents' shiny smile varsity jacket. But Elena had found his biggest secret tucked inside a locked photo vault app. Explicit photos of a girl from last semester. Photos he wasn't supposed to have. Elena copied them to a USB and mailed it anonymously to the girl's parents, along with a note. Ask your daughter who took these. Then ask Bryce what he threatened her with. Within 24 hours, Bryce was pulled from school in a black SUV. Lawyers followed. Elena watched him sobbing in the parking lot. 3 down, and now only Trevor remained the leader, the one who filmed the video and first laughed at her pain. She saved him for last. She wanted him to stew in fear, surrounded by the downfall of his friends. He received a package in his locker, a small mirror. On it was etched a phrase she'd heard her father use once on a criminal. Do you like what you see, or are you scared of who's watching? Trevor lost it. He screamed at a hall monitor, accused half the school, called Elena a psycho freak in the middle of math class. But Elena said nothing. She just smiled at the mirror she'd hung in the girls' bathroom stall, the one that reflected her calm eyes. The eyes of a girl who had never stopped watching. The eyes of a detective's daughter. Trevor spiraled hard. With Matt suspended Zane under review, and Bryce suddenly gone from campus without a word, he was now a king with no kingdom. Just a shaky crown and a growing fear he couldn't name. By Monday, his paranoia had eaten him alive. He walked with his back to the walls, checked his phone every 30 seconds, and snapped at teachers who asked basic questions. When he passed Elena in the hallway, he flinched like she was holding a weapon. But Elena never touched him, not once. She simply waited. That's what made it worse. He tried to fight back, posted a ranting video online, calling her a stalker, a manipulator, a liar. But all it did was shine a spotlight on him. His followers turned into spectators, then into doubters, then into critics. One anonymous comment appeared under the post. Funny how tough you talk when the lights are on. Want to talk about the basement at Marcus Field 2023? Trevor froze. No one knew about that night, or so he thought. The next day, he received a manila envelope taped to his locker. Inside stills from security footage of that exact night, him and 2 others trespassing, setting fire to a trash barrel, laughing as a raccoon inside scrambled to escape. One image showed his face in full view. Another showed the school logo in the background. No note, no threat, just evidence. He rushed to the principal's office, stuttering about being blackmailed, but couldn't explain where the footage came from. No one believed him. Not without proof. Not without witnesses. Elena, meanwhile, sat outside on the bleachers, chewing on a granola bar, letting the wind ruffle her hair. This wasn't about revenge anymore. It was about justice. And in a world that punished victims, she'd become the judge. That afternoon, a school assembly was called unexpectedly. Principal Langley stepped up to the mic with a troubled face and a trembling hand. We've been made aware of several serious incidents involving multiple students, she said. Anonymous reports, accompanied by substantial evidence, have triggered an internal investigation. Phones buzzed. Whispers flooded the gymnasium. Trevor sat in the front row, sweat running down his neck. Then came the final blow. One of the teachers, Mr. Halverson, stood and read a list of names. Matt Jacobson, Zane Carter, Bryce Ellison, Trevor Myers. Silence. The students turned one by one. These students are now under formal review for criminal behavior harassment and the distribution of illicit content, Langley announced. Trevor's chair screeched against the floor as he stood. This is insane. You have no proof. A female voice echoed across the gym. You made the proof. Everyone turned. It was Elena. Calm. Steady. Her voice wasn't loud, but it was sharp. Unshaking. You filmed it. You laughed. You posted it. And then you thought no one would fight back. The students stared. No one laughed now. Principal Langley cleared her throat. Elena Reyes has submitted a comprehensive file of digital evidence. Much of it has been confirmed. Law enforcement has been notified. Trevor's mouth opened, but no sound came. And somewhere in the very back of the gym, a man in a plain brown coat stood silently watching. Detective Marco Reyes. The message was clear. If you touch a Reyes, you'd better be ready for the consequences. Trevor didn't return to school the next day. Neither did Matt Zane or Bryce. The halls of Riverside High felt different now. Quieter, almost reverent. The loudest voices had been silenced. And for once, the quiet ones were the ones people listened to. Elena didn't walk with her head down anymore. She didn't need to. Students moved aside when she passed, not out of fear, but respect. Some whispered her name like a legend. Others stared with cautious admiration. But she didn't need applause. She didn't need attention. Justice had already been served. In the principal's office, Elena handed over one final file. There are others, she said plainly. Not like them, but victims. People they hurt. You'll want to talk to them. Principal Langley nodded. I've already begun reaching out. You've changed things, Elena. She nodded once, then turned to leave. As she passed by the staff lounge, she heard two teachers whispering. Her father's a detective, you know. No kidding. Explains a lot. She didn't just survive them. She destroyed them. Outside, the air felt lighter. She walked across the school courtyard and stopped beneath a tree, one she and her dad used to sit under when she was younger. A figure approached from the edge of the lot. Detective Marco Reyes, off duty, in jeans and boots, stood with arms crossed, his face unreadable. You went further than I would have, he said. Clean, calculated, cold. Elena raised an eyebrow. Too much. No, he said. Perfect. They stood there for a moment, neither saying anything. The wind carried the echoes of a once toxic place, now healing. Elena finally broke the silence. Do you think they'll ever do that to someone again? No, her father said firmly. Because now they know what fear feels like. She didn't smile, not fully. But there was peace in her expression, a hard-earned calm. She turned toward the road, heading home. There were still wounds, still scars, but they were hers to carry, not hide. She hadn't just avenged herself. She'd rewritten the story. Back at school, a new poster went up, Student-Led Safe Reporting Initiative. Elena's name was on the form as anonymous co-founder, but everyone knew. In locker rooms, hallways, and classrooms, students started speaking up. A culture of silence had been broken, and no one wanted to be the next Trevor. As for the video, it vanished. Erased from every account, every hard drive, every shadowy corner of the internet Elena had traced. It wasn't forgotten, but it was reclaimed. By her, the girl they tried to humiliate, the girl they underestimated, the detective's daughter. Elena's story is a reminder that silence does not mean weakness, and humiliation does not define worth. In a world where cruelty is often rewarded with laughs and likes, true strength lies in resilience, strategy, and self-respect. When justice feels out of reach, it's easy to fall into despair. But Elena didn't just survive. She stood up, fought smart, and reclaimed power in her own way. Sometimes, revenge isn't rage. It's precision. Her journey teaches us that standing alone doesn't mean standing powerless. That dignity once torn can be stitched back together with grit and truth. And most of all, that those who hurt others often hide behind a fragile mask of power. Once shattered, that mask never fits the same. So, to anyone who's ever been laughed at, filmed or cornered, remember this. You may feel invisible now, but even shadows can become storms. And storms don't ask permission.